We are continuing the Love is Blind train. Toot, toot.
Wreck.
Out for the...
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another fun-filled episode of Mostly Harmless with Sara.
Yeah.
And Matt.
Yes. Sara with an H.
And Matt with an at.
And maybe Sara without an H. Will we add an H as in husband?
Oh, that was clunky but smooth.
Yeah,
that works.
that's how I do most things.
Clunky but smooth.
Today's episode of Mostly Harmless, we are continuing the Love is Blind train. Toot, toot.
Wreck.
I see what you did there.
See what I did there?
We have episodes, 10 through 12? Mm-hmm. We got through Lauren and Dave's breakup. We're wedding dress shopping. We're prenupping. We are Bachelor and Bachelorette partying. Mm-hmm. And then we're cliffhangering on Sara and Ben's wedding. Interesting that they did Sara and Ben's wedding first. I don't know what to think of that.
So for me, just as a general summation of how I feel these couples are, the people who are still together for the most part feel like they're just gonna continue on. Like there's not much of will they, won't they, like, you know, and just maybe I'm wrong, maybe they're doing this on purpose, but the body language does not see that. Can we
start out with, I have a spoiler, but I won't tell you specifics, but can I tell you my spoiler?
Sure. Okay.
So typically what people do with Love is Blind is once the first set of episodes drop, we learn who everyone is, we learn who pairs up, and then people on the Reddits go searching for marriage licenses. Mm-hmm.
Oh, right, because that's all public record.
Right.
Okay.
So, and usually that information is dead on. Like, we know before the finale who says yes and who says no. You really have to avoid spoilers.
See, that would ruin it for me.
Yeah. Well, so I'm not going to tell you who, but...
You could literally name the people.
I know.
And I will not have any idea who
Danielle,
you are talking
about. With Danielle, Ben, and Dave, you really wouldn't know. Who is she talking about?
Seriously, and I cannot emphasize this enough, faithful viewer / listener, have the worst name recollection of any human you'll ever get.
Well, I won't name them, as Sutton would say from Beverly Hills, but...
Is she on the
Real
show?
No, she's on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Okay. Reddit has only procured one marriage license for this season's couples.
I guess.
But I don't feel like we're only going to have one duo say yes.
See, I agree with you on that. Yeah. On that, I specifically stated that.
So I'm interested to see if the Reddits are right or what.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
To be fair, they can have these ceremonies without filing a marriage license.
But that's supposed to be Love is Blind. Like, there's a show even more savage. It's called Married at First Sight.
Seen that. Yeah.
And that's you get married and then you go through the dating process.
Oh, right. But that's a gimmick show.
No, but it's supposed to be legal. That's the thing. You get married. And in Love is Blind, if you get married on the show, you're getting married.
If you die in the dream, you die in real life.
But that's the thing that's so annoying with on certain seasons
public
of The
record.
Bachelor. That's the thing that's annoying with public record. No, it's a thing that's annoying on The Bachelor. Like, you're supposed to get engaged at the end. And when these Bachelor and Bachelorettes don't propose,
the thing
it's so annoying. It's like, that is not how it's supposed to go.
That's not what that show is about anymore, and it hasn't been for quite some time. It's been a lot. Bachelor in Paradise is the closest thing to a genuine show that's from that company at this point. Now it's just, how big of a shit show can we get people to watch? We don't give a shit about marriage. It did start off with altruistic intentions. It did. And then, again, viewership and ratings decided a different story.
But I think it's so annoying when because on that show, it's still, even if it's a bachelorette, it's still the man is proposing. When the guy does, when he's like, let's see, like Matt James, his final pick, they were together for 4 years. I mean, they just broke up, but they were together for a long time after the show, but he didn't propose. It's like, the franchise is going to invest all this money into making you Bachelor, and the whole point of the show is proposing. I am sorry.
You think that's what the show is about?
Well,
you think that's what they're investing their money for? That's laughable.
Anyways.
Laughable.
What was interesting is, similarly on Love is Blind, in season 1. In season 1, Giannina and, God, I can't think of that guy's name right now, but the guy said no to her at the altar, and like, just, it was tragic. She was so dramatic about it. I mean, as I would be if someone said no to me at the altar.
Let's talk about the altar in general. Yeah. Let's just talk about what we're dealing with in what we will be dealing with in next week's episode.
Well, hold on. Let me just finish my little tangent.
Copy. So
he said no, and then they went on to date after the show. And we see that with Meg and Mason. They said no in the pods, but then we see when they go to this meetup that they're together. So that stuff does happen. But it's not supposed to.
I just find it, I don't, on a human...
Let's talk about the altar.
Well, just on a human level, I don't understand how, like, you get to the altar, but you don't have to. You do not have to. You're not contractually obligated, every couple, to make it to the altar, because some people don't make it to the altar.
No, I am, and I'm totally joking, by the way, but I am Taylor's mom in this situation. I'm like, there is no divorce in this family. There is no saying no on this franchise.
Well, but that's...
You sign up, you say yes.
My thing about it is that you can just not get to the altar. It, to me, is a fucking dick move. If you know you're not going to go through with this marriage, but you go with this, you bring your family and your friends to watch you tell someone to fuck off in front of a bunch of people. Like, boy or girl that does that. Like, because there are people we know that don't make it to the altar. You could literally have just said, hey, we didn't make it. Like, unless they were like, hey, we give you an extra $25,000 to show up to your own wedding.
That actually has been a point of conversation surrounding this show, that is an extreme dick move. Like, psychologically, even if you're
wondering at the altar, it's
that
crazy.
That does something to you mentally, right? And to even to be the person saying no or being said no to, just that whole setup is a mind fuck.
And unless in someone, I believe, and I could be talking on my ass here, but I believe someone in the previous seasons, they both agreed to go to the altar and say no and then date. Like, and that's fine.
Well, I don't know about dating
they
after.
Had a previous conversation.
Yeah, there are people who...
Like, we're going to see this through, but we're not going to go together or something.
And I know that people have previously, I don't know if they've told the person that they're saying no, but they've told like their family that they're saying no. And so sometimes you can kind of tell like when they are getting ready and stuff, like they're not really into it.
Telling your family, like having the family know, and then going through with this reminds me of a date I went on one time. long while ago, well before I met the love of my life, I was on plentyoffish.com and I met this girl. This is the chick that threw up on Dugan's shoes.
Oh my God.
What's funny about this is you meet someone, you're like, okay, cool, let's go on a date. I go to take this girl on a date. I go to pick her up, and she basically looks like she just rolled out of bed. And it's like, okay, but I'm a gentleman. I'm like, I'm gonna see this through. Take her to dinner. Take her to a movie. I'm drinking the entire time. She's trying to keep up with me drinking. And what's funny is afterwards, we're with my friends because I needed to be somewhere away. I'm talking to my friends, and they were like, oh yeah, she kept asking like, oh, I hope the things are going well. Like, I hope he really wants. And it's very clear that was not the case. And it's like, all my friends knew this was not going to go anywhere and did not tell this girl. And poor thing at the end of the night was dumbfounded when after she vomited all over my friend's shoes and made a mess of everyone, that things did not go in her direction.
Yeah, sometimes your stars are aligned, but theirs are not.
Hey, no harm, no foul.
You know what? At least that was just a date and not your wedding day.
That was a date, right? It wasn't living together, proposing to each other. It was a bad date that two people did not think they ended on the same level.
She probably remembers very little of it.
Oh, one could hope. It was
one
not.
Could hope.
And then when she tried to kiss, I was like, oh, no.
Right after she threw
Right after. No, I was like, no.
She wipes it off and is like.
So it's like, that's what I'm reminded of. It's like watching your friend walk to get fired when everyone knows. Because it's like, that's how it feels. The whole family knows, but I'm sure they tell people that you can't divulge these secrets.
Well, so it was long suspected. I think I talked about this in one of the last 2 episodes, but that it was a requirement. Like, you have to go to the altar. If you get out of the pods, you go to the altar. If you don't, you're like, I don't know, fined $1 jillion or something.
Was there a fine involved?
That was the suspicion.
Okay, because I would like to know the statistics on that.
Season 7, I don't think anyone's been sued on Love Is. There have been lawsuits filed, but I don't know. I don't know if Netflix has sued any cast members. I'm not sure. I'm sure someone will be like, well, actually,
didn't one season like all the people said that the filming was horrendous or something like that, and it was like the whole process. That's was
why
bad.
Now you always see them, because the allegations in that lawsuit, which was cast members suing Netflix,
right,
was they don't feed you, long filming, they just ply you with alcohol and all this stuff. I don't know if they instituted like drinking rules a la Bachelor in Paradise, but you see huge spreads of food now. Everywhere you can tell. It's like, did producers tell you to comment on the spread? Because
look at the food.
Yeah, they'll be like, oh my God, all this for me? And it's like, all this food. So it had long been suspected that there was this requirement that the cast members that made it out of the pods, that they had to make their decision at the altar. And, people were talking about that. That's extremely messed up, because that can take a psychological toll, and I get that. But last season, all the breakups that happened they just never made it to the altar.
Well,
so then it's like, okay, well, I don't think Netflix sued any of them from season 7, so maybe they don't. And then we see, and we'll talk about it, Lauren and Dave, they break up. I don't think I don't think anyone's strong-armed into going to the altar. But it is interesting.
I don't know. It feels like, I feel that the show not again, allegedly, we don't know if that's the case, but forcing people to go to the altar is very disingenuous. Going to the altar to be an asshole on your own is hilarious, because why would a human being want to do that? But it feels to me like the show itself should act more as a colander and not a fucking rocket launcher. So like, if every step of the show is a different strainer until you get purified down to the end. And if you don't make it to the end, you're the shit that got ebbed out.
Yeah.
And that makes for a better show, in my opinion, than the show where it's, okay, well, will they, won't they? Well, they've hated each other in every possible scenario we've seen them in. Why do we think the altar is going to be any different? We know what's going to happen. It's a lot better when there is a will there, won't they, that wasn't just a creative editing, and it was more curtailed towards actually trying to see the human experience involved in this.
Let's talk about what has transpired in these last 3 episodes. Finally, Dave and Lauren broke up.
Too little too late. Should have happened earlier. Took too long.
In a movie, like an abandoned movie theater, or maybe
they pivoted from the bowling alley where it was too inappropriate for them to have the breakup conversation.
Yeah,
because they both sat down and talked about their relationship. Like, I don't think this is a good place for us to do it. Me neither. And then they went to a fucking movie theater.
Meet me at AMC. Yeah, it looked. 20 minutes.
I'm like, where were you? And why was there just a movie theater for you to sit in? Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I know movies and movie theaters aren't really as popular as they used to be, but I don't think they just rent them out for you to sit there and have breakup conversations in. But yeah, so that happened. And it, again, every time she said to him, I don't feel like you're even trying to move past this. And he would basically say, I am, but I'm not.
No, what I loved was when he would say things like, if because she was saying like, I want to meet your friends, or I want to be like,
you're having conversations without
if I
me.
wanted them to be there, they would be.
Right.
Well, okay.
That's enough for me.
Yeah. What are we doing here? Let's talk for a second though about, first of all, Lauren, I hope you're never going to see this, but on the off chance, you deserve so much better. And Dave, I think just wasn't ready for the experiment.
I don't think his sister was ready for it, the experiment.
Man,
talk about overbearing.
But is she?
We don't even know.
Yeah, this is just Dave painting her out to be a psychopath. Maybe she's a lovely person. Who knows?
Perchance.
Maybe. Hopefully, fingers crossed, she'll be at the reunion. Who knows? Who knows? What I loved was when we go to this mixer. So the still engaged couples go tubing, and then they're going and having some drinks. But then all of the people come. The quadrangle couple comes. Madison has pink hair now. Alex comes. Megan Mason.
I didn't recognize her before. I certainly didn't recognize her with different color hair.
Megan Mason are together IRL, so that's cute. And then Lauren shows up, and then Dave shows up, and Dave gets drunk. That
was the worst example of, I'm drunk and I want to hook up, so I'm gonna go talk to my ex. He literally is like, oh, just so sorry about the way that I acted. I care about you. I just care about you so much, and I get in the way, and I need to get back from that.
I don't know if this is the actual timeline, but how they put it to us on the show is that this was the day after they broke up. Mm-hmm. And apparently Lauren went in and moved all her stuff out of the pretend
seeing
apartment.
All of his stuff no longer in the apartment was like really hard for me.
So Molly's there, the gal he dumped for Lauren. And, you know, it's kind of...
She was ride or die for Lauren, though.
Okay,
right?
hold on. Yeah. Let's get there in a mo. It gets set up like, oh, Dave is probably going to try to make a pass at Molly, you know, because that's always how it goes.
I assumed that's what was going to happen.
Yeah, that's always how it goes. But Molly, girl, I didn't really like her in the pods. I thought she was meh.
Well, she liked you.
Girl is ride or die. That is a girl's girl. She called Dave out. She said all of the things Lauren has been saying, but Dave hadn't had anybody else saying that to him.
Yeah, because all of his friends were telling him what he wanted to hear.
So he gets to paint Lauren as this crazy person, or this person who's just did this terrible thing, painting her with the scarlet letter of
she
friends
literally
with benefiting someone.
Molly.
Yeah,
Molly literally was like, and so what, you've never fucking hooked up with anyone else?
Yeah, when's the last time you had sex, Dave?
And of course, as Dave has been the proponent of y'all been fucking lately, like to everyone in this show, he's like, well, of course he's drunk, so, he's like, oh, yeah, I mean, it's been a while. I mean, Lauren and I hooked up, but it took forever. And it's like, okay, great. So I guess you finally got it. Good for you, pal. Like, because his whole thing was, have you guys had sex yet? Have you guys had sex yet?
Yeah.
And I don't think they cut that together in a super cut of embarrassment. I think that's all he had to say. I think he thought this was probably going to be more of a fuck
when
show.
You paint it, what was so funny is when we sat down and we talked about the first 6 episodes, we said, like, Dave came in real hot.
Hot.
real just, bro, I don't know why you're playing it this way. Like, so tell me what's wrong with you and blah, blah, blah. By the end of those 6 episodes, I liked Dave. I was excited to see what would happen with him and Lauren. Now I'm back to thinking, like, what the fuck's wrong with you, Dave? Like, you're just a bro. You're the bro of all bros.
I don't hang out.
No,
with
I went to college with 100 Daves. They think that they think that everything that comes out of their mouth is the fucking funniest thing that's ever been said ever, and they're slob kebabs when they drink, obviously, because then Dave tries to just, I don't know if he was going to try to make a pass at Molly, because Molly just shut that down immediately.
The pod bay doors were closed. Immediately.
She put up a wall and she was like, I'm riding for Laura. I think she even said as much, like, I'm here to, like, defend Lauren's honor. You're a piece of shit. Goodbye. Then after that conversation, he tries to get back with Lauren.
This all stuff that made me really sad. Oh, you have emotions now all of a sudden. And she finally showed a bit.
Yes.
I don't want to say, because I feel bad, because I feel like she just was really trying hard. But
I think
she finally grew a pair of lady balls for this one, because she's like, I wish I could believe what you're saying, because your actions are speaking to the contrary.
Well, and I don't know if I give both Lauren and Molly a lot of props in this situation, because I think that they were a lot more objective and looking at things big picture than probably I would have been in a similar situation. If this really was the day after they broke off their engagement, I don't know. If I were Lauren, I don't know if I would be like, oh, well, you're saying that now, but, it's just objectively, that's true. Like, if you're thinking about it.
But the thing is, he has shut her down repeatedly. If that were the first incident the day before they broke up after one incident, and then this happened, I could see where you're coming from, where it's like, she still wants it. He sounds like he wants it. Let me dive in and fail again, I think.
Yeah.
But he ditched her to hang out with his friends because he didn't want the friends to come over, because he knew that they were going to argue, and that he didn't want her to be around his friends. He didn't want her to defend herself to any family or friends.
He didn't want to integrate her into his life.
What is it, narcissist? You isolate people so that they can't, they have to be around you, and that's it. Like, so she has been trying to fight for this whole time, and he has been shutting her down the entire time. So that was just the final domino. Yeah. And so I can get that. Imagine if you're getting punched in the face every time you stand up, you're probably going to think twice before you stand up again. And that's what he kept doing. And it was the unstoppable force versus an immovable object. Like, she is like, why can't you get past this? Which is a perfectly healthy thing to take a few minutes when it's something that you're not entirely comfortable with, maybe to make peace with. But again, like I said before, if you are planning on marrying this person and you can't get over essentially a previous relationship, That's all it was. Whatever, a hookup or whatever, it was an ex of some kind. Well, I know somebody that you were just fucking the day before on this show. And it's like, and she goes again, that wasn't the day before I went on the show. I was hooking up with a dude.
She did admit it was a week before, though.
But
that's pretty close proximity.
Let's
but yes,
stop
I agree.
blurring
Even
the lines
so, yeah.
of friends with benefits. If he probably had a friend with benefits too. He seems like the kind of guy who would have a girl that he just goes to hook up with. And
totally.
And so again, let's talk about standards, double standards, if we will. If he was doing the same thing, it'd be like, yeah, but that's different. Because anytime she said, example A negates your argument, his answer is, yeah, but it's different. Her friends said all this stuff to him, to his face, and it was all logical progression of essentially if you really care about her, this was not like she cheated on you. She did not know who the fuck you were before this experiment. So anything that happened prior, she didn't get married the day before she went on the show. And essentially that chapter is closed as she has begun a different part of her life. But every time people brought anything to his attention, his answer is, yeah, but it's different. And he said that a bunch of times. It's like, anytime you're saying that, that's like arguing with a zealot. They're not changing their opinion. They're right. You're wrong. They will listen to your facts and then say, right, but that's wrong. And that's everything that he did. And it was textbook narcissism, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It was literally just like, right, you don't understand. You're her friends. You're going to say everything that she wants you to hear. But those are my friends. They would not just tell me what I want to hear. Meanwhile, his friends, who we never get to meet because he's a piece of shit, like, we're just telling him everything that he wants to hear. And then he was filtering it and just regurgitating the same nonsense. So it's in my opinion, I'm happy she was able to not fall back into that bear trap that she was in. Yeah. Because she would be gnawing her leg off if they got married. Yeah. And imagine that, like, medical device salesman probably not pulling in the figures, and if they have to divorce and it's a 50-50, he's probably taking money from her.
Yeah. Well, speaking of potential divorce, let us talk about, because I feel like Lauren really dodged a bullet. Virginia and Devin talk about maybe potentially dodging a basketball. We don't know. Nice. They're all geared up, ready to get married. The prenup is signed. Devin's mom okayed the prenup.
Yeah, and I still don't...
The law offices of devinsmom.com.
I posed an interesting hypothetical because, as I said in the last episode for us, that it's a safety net for if the worst should happen. I don't think anyone should find a prenup as a 4-letter word. And that's my opinion on the subject. But then I posed something to Sarah because I know that as with anyone, I can be rigid in my beliefs and not bending when I need to make concessions here and there. It was like, we had a friend that they got married and she had a religious background, religious parents. He didn't really have that. And she asked him to convert for their wedding. And he was on the fence about it. But in the end, that he did that because that was him doing something for her, right? That's a concession that he made because it wasn't going to destroy any of his fundamental beliefs, but it was doing something for her and her family. And that was something they came to doing. And so I was like, okay, well, I believe that it's innocuous to say a prenup, especially in such a extenuating situation that this show is. But how come in this situation is it okay for him to have to make a concession to get this if he doesn't want to sign a prenup? Well,
and see, that's the thing. I think either one of them, because before we saw him actually go and he signed the prenup, and when we were just talking about, is this going to happen? I got the sense that she really wants a prenup. He really doesn't. One of them is going to walk away doing something they don't really want to do in order to get married. And is that going to sow a flower bed of resentment for these two.
And so my thoughts were like, I don't think it's any more unreasonable for him to not want a prenup, I guess, than it is reasonable for her to want a prenup. It's not something that's required by marriage.
The one thing I will say, he is a basketball coach. Youth director. Yeah. He's not, I mean, I don't know what his salary is, obviously, but he's not entrepreneur, whiz kid, software engineer, or whatever. I don't know what kind of lifestyle he's living in order to budget for over $1,000 a month. He says he buys a couple pairs of shoes a month. That's like $1,500 a month on shoes.
Well, and I understand that.
So for her, I could see her in her mind saying, this to me, like walking into this situation, I'm engaged to you, but I don't know if you're really all that good with money.
And see, that's where logic. Yeah. And I'm pretty logical. Like, when things make sense, they make sense. That's how my brain's wired.
In general, I'm pretty against prenups. That's just like my knee jerk and so I guess you and I differ in that way.
Right. And we didn't get one, but neither did I ask for one either.
But so like had our financial situations going into our marriage been so
drastically
lopsided, one person so drastically leveraged above the other, I suppose I could see that, right? But
it generally is on the person who's in a more solid financial situation.
I do understand with where Virginia is coming from in this instance, where you can feel like I've known you for 5 years, but you've literally not.
5 minutes.
Yeah, you've literally known someone for about a month or whatever at this point. And yeah, she's doing the right thing for herself.
And I guess it's just more of a thought experiment on my end where I can be very rigid, especially when it comes to things that just make sense, where it just, especially in this television show, a prenup should be part of their contract.
And I don't know why I'm like knee-jerk reaction against prenups. I think if I looked internally, I think I do follow Devin's thought process of like it's betting against the marriage and blah 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 and stuff like that.
I feel that that's bad press. And because I think I mentioned and touched upon this in the last thing, is all we see and hear about prenups. The only reason any of us really even know about prenups is generally because television shows have them. And generally because they are a point of contention in an episode of television where somebody wants one, somebody doesn't. Or a rich person's marrying someone and all they're talking about is the prenup. And a lot of it is, well, the prenup said that a cheating clause and blah, 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 blah. And so it sounds like this big gotcha thing. But again, in a situation like ours, we came in on a pretty even keel on financials, and we joined bank accounts and we had everything. We were fine with it. And there was no question or ever want to have something like that, because what we built together even before we got married. We'd already started building that together. So I don't know where you would even begin to try to split the hairs on something like that, because that's what it would be from where we were at. It would be splitting hairs. It's not chopping down a forest of difference.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's where the prenup gets such a bad rap, is because all we see are hyperbolic people on television just having reasons to not want or to want a prenup, and it's bad and you don't want that, and it's betting against the marriage, when it really is, a safety net of some kind for if the worst should happen. It's the health insurance argument, I guess. Yeah. It's the you're jumping out of a plane with a parachute, right?
Yeah. Better to have and not need.
No, that's right. The parachute doesn't make sense because you need the parachute or you're going to die. Health insurance, car insurance, all that.
Right.
We pay car insurance, a shit ton of car insurance, a lot of it, and you never use it. You hope you never have to use it. But if the day should come where you have to use it, you're very happy that you already have that system in place.
Yeah.
And you can't go back in time and put that back into place at a point where you were at the easiest way to slip that into your lives.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I came from on that. And it's also why I didn't feel the need to have one with Sara, because we, again, built who and what we were going to be.
I will leave with the nothing that I came into this.
But we did. We built who we were together. And that's the difference, is these people have only known each other for 15 fucking minutes.
Yeah.
So like I said, I do genuinely feel like there should be a clause on the show where the people should have something to protect them, because they're caught up in the enamor and the infatuation of love, but they haven't had the downtime that relationships have.
Yeah.
They haven't had when their favorite show's off season and now they don't have anything to talk about for, you know what I mean? Like, they haven't had any of those things because they're on a TV show. They're being put together purposefully put in situations and boom, boom, boom. Mm-hmm. Like, where's the downtime? Where's we stayed inside all day today? Or, you know, I went off to do this and you went off to do that. And it's not there. So there's going to be a point after they get married where the reality of being married actually sets in. There's not going to be a reality show following them around for their entire lives. And that's where the realism is going to come in. And then if that doesn't work out, then they had a chance. Then hopefully they're in a place where maybe they could part amicably, but that's not always the case. It's very rarely is the case. So they had a chance to put something in place if the worst should happen. And in a normal situation where two people meet organically or however, and they have the time to get to know each other and blah, 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 you have all that time to figure out if that's going to be something you need. So that's where the prenup doesn't sound like the boogeyman to me as much as it is the health insurance of your,
sure.
And that's fine. And if you don't feel that way, that's fine too. It's okay.
Yeah.
But it's just like the scariness of it, I feel, is bad press. I feel it's gotten it from people telling you it's bad because they're just trying to get your money. And it's like, well, it's not what it's generally about. It is sometimes, but I don't think so. But that's where I was on that.
What do you think the outcome of, because we know that they've made it presumably to the altar unless something goes real sideways day before or something, with like Marissa and Ramses. That was like day before. Are they saying yes? Who's saying no if someone's saying no? Who's saying yes if someone's saying yes? I
do feel like he does stumble over this prenup every time they bring it up. He goes quiet. He goes silent. Like, so
what happens though if you sign a prenup but you don't get married?
I think it's contingent.
Null and void?
I think it's contingent on, and this is speculation, but I do believe that your legal contract is based on a dissolution of a marriage. If there's no marriage, there's no inciting incident.
Yeah, gotcha.
But I think, because every time they bring this up, she slides it over after dinner on the table, like a little Hertz gold card across the table. And he stops and he doesn't talk. And it feels like he's calculating the best way to express what he's feeling without trying to seem like he doesn't want the prenup and he doesn't want to hurt her feelings by being like, I think this is maybe ridiculous, or however he feels about it. Because then today's episode, or the last episode that we watched in the most recent drop of episodes, they talked about it for a second, and she goes, so how do you feel about the prenup? And he stops talking for a solid 5 seconds again. Like, there's a full on, like, I think we've all had this. I know if I say what I'm thinking right now, it's gonna start an argument, which means there's probably arguments that have been happening off camera that we haven't seen. Because it's that if I say how I'm genuinely feeling right now, it's going to start an argument. It's going to go on for 5 fucking hours. It's not going to get anywhere because we're going to keep nailing back in the same place. So probably just going to shut my mouth. That's what it looks like to me. Because he takes like it's like, how do you feel about it? Like, and calculation begins,
Yeah.
picture the, all the formulas going by his head. And it feels to me like, I think if someone's going to say no, which possible, I think it's going to be him. And
you think it's going to be him saying no?
I do.
Okay.
If someone is going to, I think it's him, because let's be real. If you're not going to go through with a marriage, you're not going to get legal paperwork to secure yourself. Mm-hmm. No one's going to get married and immediately get a divorce. You know what I mean? Like, that's silly. She seems like she's coming from a relatively logical place of mutual protection. And again, when he read it, my mom read the prenup, and I guess
mom said I could get married.
Like, it was a little like, my mom said that. My mom was like, yeah, like, so I guess whatever you came in with is, whatever debt you have is your debt. Whatever you meant to, we split it. It's like, so what she's been saying the entire time.
I can only imagine what that conversation looked like at Devin's parents' house. Like, Mom, just let me be married, Mom. I want to get married.
But, like, I think she's coming from a place where if you're going to the effort, I mean, I don't know, maybe she's not into it, but she seems like she really wants this. But she also seems like she wants to be very protected. She just wants to protect if...
Wear a condom.
Right.
Get a prenup.
Right. I don't know, but that's...
Merch coming soon.
So, yeah, that'll be our thing. But... That's my thing. I think that if someone's going to say no, I don't think it's going to be her. I think it's going to be him. Gotcha. And I think it's going to be him because I have felt I don't want to say this right now because I don't want to argue, Okay. Like, gotcha. And that is a perfectly acceptable way to not decide what you want to have for dinner and just figure it out later. Not a good start to a marriage. And that's what it feels like to me is like, and so I think this stuff, and he seems like a very contemplative person. He seems like he's a deep thinker, and he's probably thinking about this stuff a lot. Like, and if he thinks that a prenup is betting against the marriage, if that is who you are at your core and you can't change your thought process on that, then he can't sign that prenup, because he feels it's going to be a bad omen for his marriage. It's going to be a point of contention in any arguments they have. Oh, well, you got your prenup, blah, blah, blah. Like, if that is your fundamental belief of the document, then signing it goes against everything that you want. Mm-hmm. And then even if he does sign it, they're not married yet. So... if there's an out to be had, I believe he's the one who will be opening the door. That's my thought.
Gotcha.
That's my thought. Because I feel like he has his, and again, you're going to find radical beliefs that don't jive with each other in a show like this. And it happens. We've seen it. It's the Ramses and What's Her Nuts is a perfect example of almost everything. Yeah. And it's, can you deal with this or can you not? And most people cannot deal with radical differences like that. Spoiler alert. Everyone, if you can't get around, like, if you can't accept somebody for who they are without being, like, fundamentally irritated by a part of their belief system, it's not going to last. Yeah. Like, you can't just overlook people's personalities. Yeah. And... people don't change. I feel you can change, you try to be a better person, but like who you are is often who you are going to be. It's represented in how you compose
Lauren
yourself.
tried real hard to overlook Dave's personality. At the end of the day,
she fought.
At the end of the day, she's like, nope, can't do it.
She fought something powerful.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have, for him, he did not seem worth it to me. I'm glad it didn't work out as far as we know. Mm-hmm. As far as we know, but
let's talk Joey and Monica. So we had this photo shoot that Monica's sister gifted them. She's a photographer. The pictures came out super cute. I was like, oh my gosh, is she gonna like fuck these pictures up on purpose or something? But the sister ends up apologizing for coming on strong.
No, she does. She does the abrasive personality shuffle, which I hate, by the way.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a bitch. That's just my personality.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you're a bitch.
Yeah.
Like, you can be nice.
Yeah. But the thing with Joey and Monica, and I pointed this out when...
How you doing?
When I pointed this out in the first batch of episodes, when he proposes, he asks Monica, will you get engaged to me? He doesn't ask her to marry him. And I think that that was an intentional parsing of words.
See, I don't agree with you.
No, because then they're sitting here in this final dinner and Monica is saying, she is saying she doesn't know what Joey is going to say at the altar.
Yeah, but don't people always say that before they,
I think that Joey has made it clear to her that he is unsure of what he is going to do.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know. We'll see.
We're going to have to see on that one. Again, they're very milquetoast as a couple. It's not very entertaining for me.
They're very giggly.
He talks like this. He's always so excited about everything.
He's a goofball, but at the end of the day, I think he takes things very seriously.
Yeah, he seems like an emotional dude.
Well, and I think so I think he takes marriage seriously. I think he takes adulting pretty seriously.
Except for that hair, he doesn't take very seriously.
Well, he's donating it, so
I
cut him some slack.
I think he's donating bullshit because that hair is well past the donation length. It needs to be like a foot, and he's got way more than that. He can cut down.
He's right at it.
He could cut down to a crew cut and look like a decent. I don't like long hair. I think long hair is unkempt on a man.
Okay, to each their own.
I do not find him attractive, Sarah.
I'm sorry.
I'm just saying.
I'm sorry.
He's not for me. Veto. How do I hit my button on the voice and turn my chair around?
They went out to dinner. They had their little photo shoot. The gals go to Mall of America for their bachelorette party dressed as grannies.
Sorry, they got hosed.
So this is 2 years in a row where I think the guys get like an infinitely more expensive.
So the guys get to play football at the Vikings training center. So the Minnesota Vikings professional NFL team, their training stadium, which is a full-size enclosed football field, with custom jerseys, full lockers, full accompaniment of awesome fucking shit. You don't even have to like football to know how cool that is. It's like she likes hockey because I like hockey, but I got to go take her to the ice one time. And it's fucking cool.
That was cool.
The grannies from Bluey show up in a bus to go to an empty, dusty-ass mall that nobody goes to anymore.
I will say that I thought that was a really cute bachelorette idea.
Right.
I thought that was cute. But yeah, completely
I don't think they got any personalized stuff.
Well, no, what
they got to ride a Ferris wheel at a broken mall.
I'm sitting there thinking like, oh, cool, they rented out like Mall of America. But they probably just went there when it was closed. They probably waited. It's probably like midnight when they're having this bachelorette
party. Ever since
party.
COVID, most malls have become ghost towns. If you'll notice, they didn't show any stores. And, when you rent out a mall, you're going to see some stores in the background because there's probably no stores. It's Mall of America. It's probably still suffering just as much as anywhere else.
Well, I mean, they at least got to ride the roller coaster and it looked like it was way better than season 7's bachelorette party.
What did they do?
They were in like a loft warehouse type space and they had a slumber party.
Oh yeah. What did the guys get?
They went to a basketball game.
See?
Whatever city that was, they went to their NBA game.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing. I'm like, I didn't have a bachelor party. Sarah didn't have. We had like a joint party with our friends.
I was pregnant, so.
Yeah, I was not. But my friends, when we were talking about having a bachelor party, so when I said what I wanted, which is what I still want to this day, was to go camping, go fishing, and drink. It was at the time just drink and fish and camp. That's my jam. Of course, the guys, no, we need to go to a strip club. And I've never been to a strip club in my life. I don't really see I guess I could see the reasoning behind it. Look but don't touch just seems silly to me. But whatever, to each their own, ask for every seat. But like, when you talk about bachelor parties, it's like the guys always seem to want to go over the top on something. What they do with these shows is they do pretty cool, like traditional guy bachelor parties. Like something cool but not inappropriate, I guess, because
Well, they can't show them going to a strip club, maybe they could.
They could. It's a Netflix show. It's but like it is something cool. I always feel like that the bachelor party seems to always have to be, one last chance to fuck up your marriage before you get married. And that's that. And it's not judgy really on my end. It's just never appealed to me to go to a strip club. And Sara obviously just said she did not want me to go to a strip club. Not that I had said I was planning on it or anything like that, but that wasn't something that I would do, especially if she said she didn't want me there. That'd be fine. Because what's the point? Hey, never been before. God, I really need to go one time before I go get married. Boy, am I missing out on the Wednesday day stripper that I'm going to go see today.
The day shift.
The day shift. Midweek day shift stripper. But so I like what they do. But then, I feel like for the ladies, it's just like your gift is the wedding. That's what it seems like for them.
Well,
your thing's the wedding.
Because they would have been spending. That's actually a good point because they would have been spending more money on those dresses. I will say,
tuxes are $200 for a guy.
I loved all of the women's dresses that they picked. I think they all suited their personalities. Virginia literally did look like Cinderella in her wedding dress. I don't know if she actually picked that dress. I guess we'll wait and see. But it was so sparkly, and 20-year-old me, I would have been like, oh my God, I would have died for that dress. But I liked all the wedding dresses, and you're right. They probably...
If you're thinking about an even split on the budget, probably where that goes.
I will say, because everyone gets married at the same location. So we've seen the location, and I think it's tacky. Yeah, I'm not loving it, and I wouldn't want that to be my the girls or whoever gets to decide, they get to change out the flowers and stuff, but the location's the location. Listen, and I don't love the location.
They chose the location before they even had the people there.
The producers chose
So I worked, as we know, worked The Bachelor for a million years, and one of the weddings for one of the nonsense people on that show was at a Four Seasons, or it was in Santa Barbara. It was a Four Seasons, and I was down there doing something, and it's all sets. All these reality shows, it's all stupid. It was a prop stage with shitty chairs in the middle of a courtyard with some lighting that hopefully you can't see the ambient hotel you're staying at. These shows, it's like they can't take you to a beautiful venue. You know what I mean? I feel like they have to have everything in a very controlled environment. And then when they get there, we had a warehouse at The Bachelor of every chivalry chairs and all that nonsense that you have to have for a wedding, and you just drag it out every time because it's cheaper to bring the same shit out. The budget for these shows is big, but if they could save money by reusing the same crap and painting it, that's probably what they're gonna do. I remember we had columns that they'd use for things that were just if you scratched them, there'd be 5 layers of paint depending on what they did for the season. So I get that on a producer level. You're not going to get your choice of venue. And I feel that's fine, because what most of these people will likely do if they do survive the process is have a real wedding later on. Like a second or a reception or something. And that's fine. But you need to have the ceremony for the show to make any sense, I guess. But yeah, and it's like, why waste money if, as we see right now from public record, why waste all this money if only one couple is going to get married here? Like, so I get that.
I think Taylor and Daniel are probably the couple that were most, at least for me, I'm most confident in. They did the ice. I don't know why you're so obsessed with everyone having a couple name, but they do
Smat. Okay.
They have that ice skating date. It's super cute.
Right. Yeah.
Then we don't really see much of them. So, because we kind of go through, each couple has their final date before the Bachelor and Bachelorette parties.
Yeah.
And then we kind of end this set of episodes on Sara and Ben's wedding. So, I'm the most confident that both of these people will say yes. What do you think?
If they survived him being a Instagram stalker, right? This is the couple we're talking about.
Yeah.
Then they can survive anything.
Oh, I will say I loved that Taylor invited Daniel's mom to wedding dress shopping.
Yeah.
I thought that was super cute. I don't know if anyone's done that before on Love is Blind. Invited the future mother-in-law. I think that's a good indication.
That's a class act.
That's a good indication that this is for real.
Well, because you wouldn't want to give such a bad example of good hope for that. Right?
Yeah, right.
Hey, just kidding.
Yeah.
I know we went and did some very mother-in-law type things together, but fuck you guys. I don't want to marry him.
So sorry, we're not gonna probably dissect Taylor and Daniel too much because. But maybe in the next batch of episodes, they'll be featured more prominently.
Well, I think the couples that we talked about thus far really had the stories of these.
Yeah.
It seems like every bucket of episodes has the same cast of characters, but it's focusing on different people. And the ones we've talked about so far had the heaviest storylines, I think.
But we end this batch of episodes with Sara and Ben. And much like Virginia and Devin, I feel like there is this elephant in the room. So for Virginia and Devin, it's the prenup. For Sara and Ben, it's the religion thing. And I think it's a bigger deal for Sara because Ben, I don't know if Ben is fully aware of how much Sara is struggling to essentially conform.
She keeps saying, I never envisioned the person I was going to be with to be religious. Like she said that on more than one occasion, and then they keep flashing back to it in the show. And that is a huge indication that she is having trouble reconciling with this.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to reconcile with that.
Exactly. And it really makes me feel similarly about them that I do about Virginia and Devin. I feel like one person is going to be making a concession, and that is just going to sow seeds of resentment.
And, it's his fundamental self.
She essentially told him, because we see them go to his church, and to Sarah's credit, she's asking him all these questions about what is your church's stance on
blah blah blah
X, Y, and Z thing. A lot of it has to do with social justice issues. She wants to know where that church stands. Say Ben and Sara have kids one day. What is this church going to be teaching my kids? I think that's an extremely fair thing for her to ask. And Ben doesn't really have answers to some of these questions.
And he seems like he's treading water, just like, is it Devin? Because she's like, I'm fine with faith, but I'd like to find somewhere else for us both to go.
So that's what happens. So she ends up, I guess, seeking out in her own time, like an online sermon from this church. And she watches it and she doesn't love what she hears. It's about, it was a sermon about what you should do if your child comes to you and tells you that they feel like they were born in the wrong body. And she didn't love the way that they broached that topic. And so she poses to Ben, okay, I'm willing to go to church, but can we find our own church? So in that regard, this is like the prenup conversation. So I'm willing to sign the prenup, but like, what concessions are you going to make for me? I think at the end of the day, both of them are going to be unhappy with the choices they make to be together.
He has made it very clear that religion brings him an immense sense of peace.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to leave his church.
And if you told me that what brings me peace is not your jam, and I would like to edit it essentially in a way that makes me feel better and you feel worse, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. It's like, I'm sorry, if you can't get on the same level as me with this, because this is my thing. Like, you need to get close to my level or let me do my thing. I don't know. I don't think you can be that opposed to each other's thing. And she's very deeply rooted in social justice and LGBTQ stuff. And that's perfectly fine. But the problem is that, you know, especially when you get towards the more organized religion stuff, is you're going to have a lot of the actual sermons might not speak to that a lot.
Which is why she's not religious.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not shitting on the faith or anything like that, but a lot of the messages that are put out there, especially when they're trying to talk about that stuff, is not going to be what she wants to hear.
The way Ben put it to her in the pods was that he was more of a faith he's spiritual, not necessarily religious.
It does not seem that way.
No, he is very much religious,
and which is fine. I don't think these two people were destined to be together.
But what's sad is there is an attraction there. I think every other thing lines up for them, but this is such a huge component of who both of them are. I don't know if there's overcoming this. What's sad, interesting, wild to me is that both of them are getting ready on their wedding day. They're so excited. They both seem like headed in the direction of saying yes. And one thing Sara says is, my heart is all systems go. I'm ready to say yes, but my brain is like, hold up. And she's like, I don't know if she said, I think I need to listen to my brain, or like, I'm trying to like work out the two conflicting emotions that she's having. And so if anyone's saying no, I think it's going to be Sara saying no.
Yeah, because he seems like he'll tread water and figure it out.
Yeah.
Like he might secretly go to church.
Sara's sister and her sister's partner, they had a little chit chat, caught like a hot mic moment almost, where they're like, I think she's going to say yes, but I don't know. What do you think? And it doesn't seem like, I don't know if it's that they don't like him or they don't like maybe what he stands for.
Well, he also, maybe it was all the stuff. Maybe it was everything that the sister that she said to her sister. Like,
yeah. But they seem like they think that she's going to say yes, and they are disappointed in that possibility.
One thing I know is that if all your friends and family have an issue with something, it's never gonna work. Like you know what? Like, it's like when you're younger, you'll date someone and your friends will be like, oh dude, she's bad, or be like, oh, you got the blinders on and stuff like that. It always ends up being, if they can't be friends with your friends and your family doesn't like them, that they're seeing something that you just haven't seen yet because you're too far into it. And if you can't just be like, well, that's my husband, like, we're married, I'm sorry everybody hates him. But it's like, you can't, like, that pressure will crush you after a long time. So I don't know what they're going to do, but I don't think they can survive with that level of, with that dichotomy of of what their personal belief systems are. I just don't think their systems don't match up. And they kind of have to be, at least a couple of puzzle pieces have to look the same in that situation. And I'm not sure they do.
Yeah. Well, I guess we will see what happens. We are almost to the end of season 8.
And don't forget, some of these people could get married and then break up. They might get married for the sake. Just because we think that they shouldn't be together doesn't mean they won't be.
Yeah.
So that's the magic. I think that's all I got for this one.
That's all I got for this one.
That's it.
We will I think next week is the weddings and the reunions.
So they do their weddings and the reunion in one bucket?
I think the weddings are a drop, and then like the next day is the reunion.
We'll see.
I'm not sure.
We'll see.
Okay.
But
we'll keep you posted, but not too much longer with the Love is Blind, and then we'll give our mostly harmless take on something else.
maybe we'll give it some true crime or something like that. But we'll get to it. That's all we got for Love is Blind today. That's all we got for LIB. But we got to move on. We got things to do. We got people to see. We got kids to put to bed and all that jazz. Find us on all the social medias. Do mostly no harm. Anywhere that we can be found, you can find us. That is a true statement. And it always will be. www.level42studios.com. You can go to the contact section. Feel free to send us a note about how awesome we are, how much you hate us, or if you have something you want us to talk about. We are here for it all.
Don't tell me how much you hate me. I'm sensitive.
You can tell me. I just won't tell her. And that's about it. Check out Sara on Sara Spills and Reality Squad and any of the other stuff we want to work on. Mm-hmm. And as always, do mostly
no harm. Take care, guys. Have a good one.